Something is happening across the United States and most people aren't even aware of it. Quietly, without much media attention, countries around the world are telling their citizens one thing: do not travel to America. But what's causing this wave of international travel warnings? And more importantly, which US states are starting to feel the pain? In this video, we're diving deep into a global shift that's shaking the foundations of American tourism. From half-empty airports to hotels struggling to fill rooms, the signs are everywhere if you know where to look. And by the end, you'll see how even your favorite destination could be next, and why almost nobody is talking about it. Number 10, Florida. Can you imagine Florida, land of sunshine, beaches, and Mickey Mouse, suddenly struggling to keep its hotel lights on? It sounds impossible, but that's the reality creeping in. Florida, which typically draws over 100 million visitors each year, is showing early warning signs of something bigger. And it all began with one key number. In early 2025, international arrivals to Florida dipped below 2,115,000. That may sound like a lot, but it's a noticeable decline from the previous year. What's more alarming is where the drop is coming from. Canadian tourists, long considered Florida's most reliable winter guests, are disappearing. Their visits are down by more than 25%. That's not just a vacation slump, it's a billion-dollar hit. To put it into perspective, Florida could lose as much as $9 billion in tourism revenue due to international pullback alone. And the story doesn't stop there. Rising crime perceptions, political controversies, and visa delays are all contributing to a growing sense of unease about visiting the United States. Several countries have now issued official travel advisories warning their citizens to reconsider trips to high-profile US states, Florida included. In fact, some European and South American travel companies have stopped offering Florida as a vacation option altogether. Think about that. Tour operators are actively steering people away from Miami, Orlando, and Tampa. That's not just bad for tourism, it's a red flag for the entire state economy. Businesses that rely on international visitors, theme parks, resorts, beachfront rentals, and restaurants are already starting to notice fewer guests. And the effects ripple beyond tourism. With less foot traffic, local shops see fewer sales, hotels reduce staff hours, and entertainment venues shrink their schedules. Even the mighty Walt Disney World is rumored to be re-evaluating its future expansion plans in response to slowing international demand. So here's the big question. If Florida, with all its global pull, sunshine, beaches, and world-class attractions, is starting to lose tourists, what hope is there for other states? Number 9. California. What happens when one of the world's most iconic travel destinations becomes a place people are warned not to visit? That's exactly what's starting to unfold in California, a state once synonymous with dream vacations, now quietly slipping down the list of global must-sees. The warning signs aren't just showing up in airport traffic, they're embedded in the state's economy, its streets, and its image abroad. According to Visit California, international visitor projections have dropped by over 9.2% in just 1 year. That's not just a few fewer flights or booked hotel rooms, it's a dramatic shift in how the world views California. Cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco are already experiencing a slowdown, forcing hotels and hospitality companies to cut staff and scale back services. The reasons? They're layered. For one, the cost of visiting California has skyrocketed. Rising airfare, surging hotel prices, and inflation have made trips to the Golden State prohibitively expensive for many international travelers. But the problem runs deeper than just dollars and cents. Political tensions, safety concerns, and a steady stream of negative headlines have chipped away at California's allure. Some European travel agencies have removed California from their American travel packages entirely. When tour companies exclude a place like San Francisco from their brochures, it signals a deeper problem: a growing reluctance among international tourists to set foot in the US, especially in states that were once considered travel royalty. Even California's most reliable draws, beaches, tech hubs, Hollywood, aren't immune. Bookings for studio tours and theme parks are down, and many major conventions report reduced international attendance. Events that once attracted guests from around the globe are now leaning more heavily on domestic tourism to fill seats. This shift isn't just a passing trend, it's part of a wider rethinking of American travel. Where once California represented freedom, adventure, and opportunity, it's now raising questions about safety, value, and whether the magic is still there. And here's the sobering truth: if California, home of the Pacific Coast Highway, Yosemite, and the film industry, can't hold on to its status as a global travel powerhouse, it doesn't bode well for the rest of the country. Because if international travelers are crossing California off their itineraries, where are they still willing to go? Stick around, because the next destination may surprise you even more.
Number 8.
New York. When you think of American tourism, New York City is likely one of the first destinations that comes to mind. Times Square, the Statue of Liberty, Broadway, the city has long been the epitome of American culture and entertainment. But as with California and Florida, New York is feeling the squeeze of this global travel shift, and the numbers are startling. In 2025, international tourism to New York City dropped by a staggering 12%. That's millions of fewer visitors, and the impact is being felt across every corner of the city. Hotels are reporting lower occupancy rates, restaurants are struggling to fill tables, and iconic landmarks that once attracted long lines are now eerily quiet. What's behind this dip? For one, New York is no longer as affordable as it once was. International travelers, particularly from Europe and Asia, are finding it increasingly difficult to justify the high cost of visiting the city. With the price of accommodations, meals, and transportation rising, many are looking for alternatives, places that offer similar experiences at a fraction of the cost. But there's more to it than just the price tag. The rise in crime and safety concerns in some neighborhoods has also contributed to the city's diminishing appeal. Once considered a bustling and vibrant metropolis, New York's reputation has taken a hit, with some tourists reconsidering their plans out of fear. And don't forget the visa delays. The US Embassy has become notorious for its lengthy processing times, making it harder for foreign visitors to get approved for travel. As a result, many potential tourists are opting for more accessible destinations with fewer bureaucratic hurdles. Even with all its attractions, New York is no longer the must-see destination it once was. It's a cautionary tale for other major cities that are seeing a similar decline in international visitors. So, if New York, the crown jewel of American tourism, can no longer draw crowds like it used to, what does that mean for the other states on this list? Stick with us, because the next state might leave you speechless.
Number 6.
Texas. Big skies, barbecue, and the spirit of independence, Texas has long been a top destination for both domestic and international travelers. Known for its vast landscapes, historic sites, and thriving cultural scene, the Lone Star State has prided itself on being an iconic American destination. But in the last year, international tourism to Texas has dropped significantly, and it's starting to send shockwaves throughout the state's economy. The decline isn't isolated to one city. Houston, Austin, Dallas, and San Antonio have all felt the impact, with international arrivals falling by nearly 10%. While Texas still draws large crowds from the US itself, the international market is showing signs of fatigue. So why the shift? Much of it can be attributed to the changing global perception of the United States as a whole. Political polarization, social unrest, and frequent reports of extreme weather events have made some international tourists wary of traveling to Texas, particularly in light of concerns over safety and political climate. The state's long history as a gateway for international trade and tourism is being shaken by the rising costs of travel. Higher airfares and fewer direct flights to Texas have created a barrier for many foreign visitors, especially from Europe and South America. In addition, Texans' penchant for a larger-than-life lifestyle doesn't always resonate with international travelers who are now looking for more low-key and affordable experiences. Texas is also facing a competition surge from other US states that offer more modern amenities, unique attractions, or easier travel conditions. Cities like Nashville, New Orleans, and Denver are quickly rising as hotspots, pulling tourists away from Texas's more traditional destinations. But the tourism slump goes beyond just the typical tourist attractions. Local businesses, museums, and arts festivals that once drew international crowds are now seeing smaller audiences, and hotels are having to adjust their expectations. Some venues are even cutting back on programming in an effort to cope with the downturn. If Texas, home to some of the most iconic landmarks in the US, can't maintain its international tourism numbers, it's a sign that the American tourism industry is undergoing a fundamental shift. But what does this mean for the states that rely on international travelers to sustain their economies? Stay with us as we explore the next state on our list.
Number 5.
Arizona. Arizona, famous for its natural wonders like the Grand Canyon, Sedona's Red Rocks, and Monument Valley, has always attracted outdoor enthusiasts and nature lovers from around the globe. However, recent reports show a steep decline in international visitors, with numbers falling by over 13% in the last year. So what's happening to this state that was once on every nature lover's bucket list? While Arizona's landscapes remain as awe-inspiring as ever, the state's tourism industry is grappling with the perfect storm of issues. First, extreme weather events, especially heat waves and wildfires, have made Arizona a less desirable destination for international travelers. As temperatures rise, the once popular desert landscapes are starting to feel less like an exotic getaway and more like an environmental hazard. Tourists from cooler climates, particularly Europe, are opting for more temperate destinations. But it's not just the weather driving visitors away. Arizona's tourism infrastructure hasn't kept up with the demands of modern travelers. Many international tourists are now looking for more accessible, high-tech, and sustainable experiences, and Arizona's offerings seem a bit outdated compared to other US destinations. Cities like Phoenix, while growing rapidly, still lag behind in providing the kinds of amenities that attract international tourists, such as high-speed transit options, vibrant cultural hubs, and eco-friendly initiatives. And let's not forget the international flight accessibility. Arizona's relatively small number of direct international flights limits the state's reach for foreign tourists who prefer destinations with better flight options and fewer layovers. While major airports like Phoenix Sky Harbor serve a lot of domestic travelers, they aren't as globally connected as those in larger cities like Los Angeles or New York. Arizona is also feeling the ripple effects of rising crime perceptions, particularly in Phoenix. While the state has long been seen as a safe, laid-back destination, recent headlines about rising crime rates in urban areas have caused some international visitors to reconsider their travel plans. As the Grand Canyon continues to draw some visitors, the overall decline in Arizona's international appeal is evident in the sharp drop in bookings for hotels, tours, and national park visits. What's more concerning is that these trends are expected to worsen unless the state adapts to the changing demands of travelers. So, with Arizona, known for its natural beauty, struggling to hold on to international tourists, it's clear that even the most stunning landscapes aren't immune to the shifting tides of global tourism. Stick around, because the next state on our list might just be the most unexpected of them all.
Number 4. Illinois.
Chicago, the Windy City, has always been a staple in the global tourism scene, attracting millions of international visitors each year with its iconic skyline, rich history, and cultural attractions. However, recent statistics show a troubling trend. International tourism to Illinois has dropped by nearly 10% in the past year, and Chicago is feeling the effects. While Chicago has long been considered one of the top cities in the US for international tourists, factors like rising crime rates, perceptions of safety, and political unrest have started to chip away at the city's allure. Once a bustling hub of arts, food, and entertainment, Chicago's reputation has been tainted by concerns about violence in certain neighborhoods. While the majority of tourists flock to safer areas like Millennium Park, the Magnificent Mile, and Navy Pier, many international travelers are choosing to skip the city altogether after hearing negative news reports or receiving warnings from travel agencies. But it's not just safety concerns driving international visitors away. The high cost of visiting Chicago has become an issue for many foreign tourists. Skyrocketing hotel prices, expensive dining, and transportation fees have made the city less affordable for travelers, particularly those from Europe and Asia who are already facing high flight costs. Many international tourists, especially those on a budget, are now opting for cities like New York, Boston, or even smaller US destinations that offer a better value. Additionally, Chicago's airports are facing a decline in international arrivals, with fewer direct flights and longer layovers deterring many would-be visitors. The city's position as a central hub for domestic flights hasn't been enough to offset the drop in global demand. This has made Illinois less accessible to international tourists, further exacerbating the problem. As for the rest of the state, while some regions like the suburbs and rural areas still attract domestic tourists, they aren't drawing the international crowds they once did. The state's tourism industry is now scrambling to adjust to these changes, with hotels, restaurants, and attractions seeing fewer foreign visitors. Even events like the Chicago Air and Water Show and the Taste of Chicago are experiencing a noticeable dip in international attendance. So, if Chicago, one of the most culturally rich cities in the US, can no longer rely on international tourism to fill its streets, what does that mean for the other states on our list? The next state on our list may shock you even more, as it's often considered a travel haven for Americans and visitors alike. Stay tuned to find out where the decline is hitting hardest.
Number 3.
Hawaii. Yes, even paradise isn't immune. Hawaii has long been the crown jewel of American tourism, a tropical escape known for its turquoise waters, volcanic landscapes, and laid-back island culture. For decades, it's been a bucket list destination for travelers around the globe, especially those from Japan, Australia, South Korea, and Canada. But now, for the first time in a generation, the Aloha State is experiencing a dramatic drop in international tourism, and the implications are serious. In early 2025, Data from the Hawaii Tourism Authority showed a 17% year-over-year decrease in foreign visitors. That's not a ripple, that's a wave. And for a state whose economy is deeply tied to tourism, especially international tourism, it's setting off alarm bells. The biggest hit has come from Japan, historically Hawaii's most reliable international market. Visits from Japanese tourists have plummeted by nearly 30%. The reasons? A weakening yen, rising travel costs, and lingering visa processing delays have all played a part. But there's also something deeper. A growing perception among some international travelers that Hawaii, while beautiful, no longer feels like an escape. It feels like a luxury few can afford. Hotel prices in Honolulu have soared. Basic beachfront rooms now routinely exceed $500 a night. Meals, car rentals, and inter-island flights have also spiked in price. For many international travelers, especially families, Hawaii simply isn't feasible anymore. Add to that growing concerns around over-tourism and environmental degradation. Images of crowded beaches, eroded trails, and local protests against tourism have made headlines abroad. Travelers who once saw Hawaii as an untouched paradise are now questioning whether their presence is part of the problem. And the emotional climate is shifting too. Over the past few years, there's been a stronger push from native Hawaiians to reclaim their land and identity, sometimes expressing resentment toward the tourism industry. While many support these efforts, they also contribute to the narrative that Hawaii might not be as welcoming to tourists as it once was. Even major airlines have started cutting back on international routes to the islands, anticipating lighter demand. Resorts are offering last-minute deals to fill empty rooms. Local tour operators, many of whom relied heavily on Japanese and Korean customers, are reporting sharp revenue losses. If Hawaii, a destination synonymous with beauty, peace, and escape, is now struggling to maintain its grip on international tourism, it raises a sobering question. Is any US state truly safe from this global shift? You won't want to miss number 2 because it's a state that once welcomed millions and is now being quietly erased from travel itineraries across the globe. Number 2, Washington, D.C. You might not expect the capital of the United States, a city that's home to the White House, the US Capitol, the Smithsonian Museums, and the monuments millions have seen in textbooks, to be struggling to attract international visitors. But that's exactly what's happening. Washington, D.C., once a must-see stop on any American itinerary, is now facing a sharp and troubling decline in foreign tourism. In 2025, international arrivals to the capital fell by over 18%, the steepest single-year drop D.C. has seen in more than a decade. And the impact is undeniable. Foreign tourists, particularly from Europe, China, and South America, have historically made up a large portion of D.C.'s annual visitor count. They come for the history, the culture, and the symbolism of America's seat of power. But this year, embassies, tour agencies, and travel platforms have reported that fewer travelers are choosing to come, and even fewer are making D.C. a priority. Why? Perception and politics. Travelers aren't just looking at monuments anymore, they're reading the headlines. Political instability, protests, rising tensions, and high-profile acts of violence have turned D.C. into a symbol of deeper American unrest. For many international visitors, it's no longer viewed as a safe or serene place to visit, but rather as a flashpoint in global news cycles. Even more damaging is the shift in how the city is promoted. Major international tour operators have pulled D.C. from standard American East Coast travel packages. Previously, a common itinerary would go New York, Philadelphia, D.C., Boston. Now, It often stops at New York and skips straight to Boston. And this has real consequences. Museum attendance at major attractions like the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum and the National Gallery of Art has declined noticeably. Gift shops that once sold everything from presidential bobbleheads to Lincoln biographies are sitting on unsold inventory. Tour buses that used to be packed with foreign travelers are running at half capacity or not at all. Local hotels, especially those around the National Mall, are offering unprecedented discounts just to fill rooms mid-week. Some hospitality workers have even been laid off or seen their hours cut due to the sudden downturn. Even educational travel, such as international student tours and academic conferences, has taken a hit. Visa delays and the perception that America's political climate is unstable have pushed many institutions to look elsewhere, places like Canada, the UK, or Australia. When your nation's capital is being actively avoided by tourists, that's more than just a tourism problem. It's a reputation.
Number 1.
Colorado. Yes, Colorado. The land of snow-capped peaks, scenic drives, world-famous ski resorts, and fresh mountain air has now found itself at the very top of a list no one expected. The most rapidly declining US state for international tourism in 2025. At first glance, this might seem baffling. Colorado isn't usually associated with political unrest or safety concerns. It doesn't suffer from the urban crime headlines that plague other destinations, nor is it known for overcrowded theme parks or expensive coastal resorts. So how did it end up here? The answer lies in a quiet but powerful convergence of economic strain, accessibility issues, and shifting travel priorities, especially among international tourists. According to the Colorado Tourism Office, international visits to the state dropped by a staggering 22% this year. That's the sharpest decline among all 50 states, and the impacts are reverberating through local economies from Denver to Aspen. The root problem? Accessibility. Many international travelers simply can't get there easily. Denver International Airport, while large, lacks the same volume of direct international flights as hubs like LAX, JFK, or Miami. For a tourist flying from London, Tokyo, or Sao Paulo, visiting Colorado means multiple connections, layovers, and higher overall travel costs. And once they arrive, it's not cheap. While Colorado markets itself as a natural escape, its most iconic destinations, Aspen, Vail, Telluride, have become playgrounds for the ultra-wealthy. Luxury resorts charge upwards of $1,000 per night in peak season. Equipment rentals, ski passes, dining, and transportation all add up quickly. What was once an accessible adventure destination is now priced out for many middle-class travelers from Europe and Asia. Additionally, climate unpredictability has played a surprising role. Warm winters and reduced snowpack in recent years have led to shorter ski seasons and less reliable snowfall. For international tourists hoping for the classic Colorado experience, that uncertainty is enough to push them toward other alpine destinations like Switzerland, Canada, or even Japan. There's also been a subtle but important shift in traveler values. Post-pandemic international tourists are prioritizing culture-rich, walkable cities, historical experiences, and eco-conscious travel. Colorado offers immense natural beauty, but international visitors increasingly want more than just hiking trails and ski lifts. They want diverse cuisine, nightlife, museums, and immersive cultural experiences, and many just aren't finding that in Colorado's mountain towns. The result? Empty ski chalets, thinning lift lines, and small towns that once